Hello everyone, welcome to Season 2, Episode 7 of the Ayesphere. My name is Joy.
And I am fucking knackered. Second take's always good. Right, okay, so we're talking about Steven Moffat's Dracula today, and before our technical issues we were talking about the billboards, which were relatively impressive.
The billboards won awards for advertising in the UK, and they were really artistically done. It was a really cool. In the daytime, it looked like a blank board, and then at night time, the shadows from the streetlights would make it look like a stake going through the billboard, which I think is really clever. Unfortunately, that's where the cleverness ends. They should have hired the billboard designer to do the story, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, for anyone who's familiar with the story of Dracula, obviously we'll be talking about the 3 episodes, and that's how long the series is. It's like a mini-series, it's 3 episodes, each are around like an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And I have to ask a question before we go into the story of Dracula, but like, what is Steven Moffat's fucking deal with modernising every single fucking story he does? It happened with Jekyll and Hyde, it happened with Sherlock, and it's happened with Dracula. Stop it. Fucking stop it. It doesn't make the story more interesting, it being set in the modern times. It's boring.
He's got his one-trick pony, and he has beaten it to death several times. And it's very interesting to me because I actually had the misfortune of meeting him. I may have told this story before. He was being honoured with a doctorate at the university where I was working at the time. When I worked in catering, and I was doing all the stuff. And my bestie on staff knew I was having a doctor-themed wedding. And she went and got his signature for me on the back of like a menu thing. But she was showing him all the pictures of my wedding on her phone. And in his comment to me was the thing that he signed for me, his supposed fan, was a lecturer's comment about my bridesmaids. And I was like, great. Thank you so much for commenting on the legs of my bridesmaids. That is horrific.
Fucking hell. Oh, and no.
His wife and children were right there.
Oh, man.
Yeah. He's not a nice man, I don't think. He very lecherous, and he has his own opinion that he is the smartest man in the room, which was very evident at
in everything he fucking does. Jesus.
It was very obvious in that he thought he was the smartest person in that room, and there was, other people there getting doctorates who I would argue deserved it far more. But it was that kind of like when, if you were talking to him, he wasn't looking at the serving staff. It was that kind of like not making eye contact with the plebs type thing, and that's when I was like, "Oh, you're not just bad at writing; you're just an actual piece of shit." Like that's allegedly for legal reasons, in case we get sued.
It's funny how like, you hear about like, he thinks he's the smartest man in the room. That definitely comes across in everything he fucking writes. Because that's the only, like, it's the only, I feel like some of the characters he writes are fucking self-inserts.
Especially with Dracula. Dracula is a self-insert.
But that's why the actual character of Dracula throughout this series is all over the place. And don't get me wrong, the boy who is playing Dracula is actually not bad, but like, tonally...
They're all good. They're just working with garbage.
Yeah, they're working with shit.
The actor who plays Jonathan is fantastic at being an undead, which is another. So anyway.
Yeah.
Most of you who are watching this on Twitch probably did Dracula daily. When Tumblr got really into Dracula, what's the first thing that would come to your mind when you say Jonathan Harker? You would say devotion to Mina. Which kind of carries over into Moffat's thing, but it's got the whole... So instead of Jonathan going mad and having a brain fever like he does in the novels, he is undead because Dracula has claimed Jonathan as his bride in this, because, and this is going to cause me so much pain to say, according to Steven Moffat, Dracula is bisexual for murder, not for sex. So that was his whole thing, that Jonathan is the victim of Dracula's supposed crimes.
Sure.
And he's undead, which is an interesting twist on him having a brain fever and not remembering things and forgetting who he is, which is a thing that happens. But unlike Dracula, Van Helsing's a nun, and she smuggles Mina into the nunnery, and exposes Mina to him, thinking that it will jog his memory, but then you find out he's dead, and then Jonathan gets consumed by bloodlust and almost kills Mina, which is completely out of character for who Jonathan is, because Jonathan Harker is a man who would throw himself from the tower before he would touch anybody else, especially Mina. And it is Moffat's desire and need to make everything as dark and edgy as possible, when it doesn't need to be. You don't need Jonathan Harker to be dark and edgy. You have fucking Dracula right there.
Yeah.
And it's not... Grim is commenting in chat that isn't even Dracula anymore. It's not Dracula. It is Steven Moffat's ego inside of a vampire story that he has the audacity to call Dracula. And then it ends with that I can tolerate the sassy nuns. I can tolerate the air quotes feminist nuns that are very sassy and they're trained in martial arts. I can almost tolerate that.
Yeah.
But then you have the Van Helsing, she's the descendant of Van Helsing, and she doesn't have faith in God, but she has enough mystic arts and knowledge to defeat Dracula or whatever. And it's just such a weird... I'm not explaining this well, and it's because it's so scattered. The whole narrative is so scattered. Yeah, even I am struggling to follow it.
Yeah, so, the whole thing is all over the place. As in, like, what I found in particular is, like, when you're being introduced to the character of Dracula right at the very beginning, and as he kind of slowly absorbs kind of John Harker, he's like, becoming more, I suppose, human-like. But from scene to scene, it looks like they're going for a completely different... Like, sometimes Dracula's portrayed as a very kind of classic horror kind of character. And then other times, there's elements of, like, he's kind of more, like, sexually deviant as opposed to, like, terrifying as a creature. And then you've kind of got him also being, like, kind of charming, almost a little bit of Sherlock kind of, like, kind of...
There's so much Sherlock,
and
it's so much. They even reference it.
Yeah.
The nun at one point is like, "Oh, I found Mina by my references in London. I know a smart gentleman. Ho ho ho!" And it's oh, you just had to work in BBC Sherlock there, didn't you? You just couldn't let that project go, could you?
Something that should have died. Well, that was actually a big selling point for the show itself. It was the creators of BBC Sherlock was the kind of like the strapline to Dracula, and it was painful to watch. Strongest episode for me was actually the second one, though, but I think that's because it played more like a murder mystery.
It really does delve into the kind of the dynamics of that kind of Sherlock and John Watson. Like, it does fall back into familiar territory, and again, that's because Steven Moffat is a one-trick pony. He's very good at certain characters. He's not good at deviating from that at all.
The thing that frustrated me about... So episode 2 actually takes place on a ship travelling to London, I believe, or somewhere. In the
1880s, yes.
In the 1880s.
It holds fairly true to the novel in terms of they're on the ship, they're on the Demeter, they're heading towards London, and then it just goes completely off the rails.
Yeah. It was... Like, the thing that annoyed me the most about it was the smugness of the twist that wasn't really a fucking twist. Like, the whole episode was, who's being kept in room 9 or whatever on the ship? And it turns out to be the nun. which was just so like, yeah, sure.
Yeah. So just to recap for anyone who's not seen it, in the end of the first episode, you have the sassy talking Van Helsing nun sacrifices herself so that Mina can escape. Because for some reason she pulled Mina into this
nunnery.
into the nunnery. And Dracula takes her up on it and he goes for the nun. And then the next episode starts and he's heading for the ship and everything else. Also, Jonathan Harker's dead. He killed himself. So that's a thing.
Well, did he kill himself, or did, like, it was like Dracula used his body and then burst out of it, and that's how he got Mina to, there's like, obviously they're playing with like vampire lore to a degree, like,
which I can, there's certain parts of it I can respect. There's a lot of the kind of old Hammer horror stuff, which you can really tell is Mark Gatiss coming through, because he's really big on the old Hammer horrors, and there's a lot of good horror elements in it, but it's not held together by cohesive plot points, which is where it falls down. And then when you get to the second episode, it's this whole, like, you know, the mystery of who's in room 9. Well, you're thinking to yourself, well, obviously it's going to be Dracula's coffin.
Yeah.
And it's not. It's the nun. He's taking the nun with him to England for some reason. And it's very...
And of course, like, him and the nun throughout the episode are playing like chess, and it's like in her mind she's having, in her like mind
palace. Her mind palace.
Oh fuck, it is. That's exactly what it is. She's dueling Dracula to find out the story, and you know, like, she's apparently so focused on the game that she doesn't see the bigger picture, that she's actually on the ship in room 9. So he's like telling her what's happening, and it's kind of like that. It's just Steven Moffat smelling his own farts, basically. That's how it felt. Like, you know, it was deeply unclever. There's a word for you.
Yeah. And it's the rest of it's kind of like, there are good elements where you can see Dracula being very clever and manipulative, like when he's talking to the old woman who it turns out he's met before.
Yeah.
And there's some other parts as well where you can see him as the predatory character, which is what Moffat is building him into. And Dracula is supposed to be a predator. He is supposed to be a charming predator. That is canon. It's just the fact that Moffat intentionally, for marketing purposes, came out and said, oh, he's bisexual, but only for murder. Why was that a necessary thing to say? It's Dracula. Dracula can be sexually ambiguous without you having to say he's only bisexual for murder. Like, Dracula in canon, in the novel, is sexually ambiguous. Yeah. You know, it's implied that he goes after Jonathan. There's scenes where he takes Jonathan to bed and Jonathan wakes up undressed.
Yeah. Oh, I feel like Steven Moffat read somewhere that sex sells, and then just like, that's been his man. He's like, oh, how can I make Dracula like sexy and stuff? It's like,
when it's already sexy.
Yeah, I know.
I challenge you to find Jonathan Harker's devotion to me that unsexy.
I'm just saying, it doesn't need to be as like creepily explicit as what Steven Moffat made it, because it's a fucking drag. And then I suppose at the end of episode 2, the battle, I'm going to call her a battle nun, because that's basically what she is. She's a warrior nun, and she blows up the Demeter, and Dracula gets trapped in a coffin, and it sinks to the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah.
And then 120 years pass, and you've got fucking you've got you've got helicopters, you've got like the proper Humvee trucks that are obviously like part of some sort of like mercenary company. They're at a beach, like, just like, honestly, the Demeter like fucking sank like a mile offshore. No one's apparently ever found the wreck in that time. And I thought that the way that the divers... Okay, so Joy, answer me this honestly, right? You're a deep sea diver, right?
Yeah.
You explore and you find the ruin and wreck of a ship, right? And you go, oh, fucking cool, I'm going to go and check that out, right? And then you see a coffin, right? And then you go, oh, I wonder what's in there. So you open up this coffin and find a perfectly preserved body, right? That hasn't been eaten by all of the fish in the fucking sea, right? Would you, A, probably just fuck off, or B, would you stick your finger in his mouth? Would you do that? I wouldn't do that.
Gone. I would be absolutely, completely, and utterly fucking gone. Like, what was the purpose? Like, I never understood the purpose of, like, I'm just going to stick my hand in its mouth.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's the agency that's hunting for Dracula that is doing this. What if you know about vampires and you find a perfectly preserved corpse at the bottom of the ocean? Don't stick your hand in its mouth.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
Because that literally starts... that kickstarts Dracula's return. So Dracula tastes that blood, and then over the course of, like, the next hour and a half, I think they say, like, he gets enough strength to go and, like, fucking, like,
from a single drop of blood. Swim
to shore. And then he learns what a gun is and shoots this lassie in the face. And then it's just got that kind of shitty modern spin on it where you've got, like, and this is the thing I really hated about episode 3 the most, was that, like, you take an old-timey character and then you have to try and explain how an old-timey character would have would learn about this world. Oh, what if a time traveler was able to teleport to this world and learn about guns and, a fridge, and, you've got, like, this really drawn out painful scene where there's, like, a woman who's in her house and Dracula's, like, basically battered her husband and stuffed him in a fridge, and, like, he's discovering what, like, the modern 21st century is, and he's acting all smarmy because he knows what a car is, and you're like, oh, fuck off. Like, just I like, honestly, episode 3 for me is a complete and utter write-off. I wish they hadn't fucking bothered. The moment I saw the helicopter overhead... There were so many
interesting ways you could bring Dracula into the 21st century. There are so many interesting ways that you could have him be part of that and just be completely flummoxed and confused. Like, I would love to see him walking past a sun lamp.
Yeah.
Like, somebody's had lamp in their house and just getting decimated. But it's...
It's like, but, like, the thing is like, tonally, that's also absolutely not what they'd been building for the previous 2 episodes.
No, not at all. They were building up for,
suddenly having this quirky thing, and then obviously me doing my research on Dracula, the attempt to cram in all of the other characters that they'd ignored for the first 2 episodes, like, they cram all of the ones in. You've got the American guy Quincy. You've got
Lucy.
Yeah, you've got Lucy, and it's just like, oh, it's painful. Like,
Lucy's story arc is actually, I have to fast forward through lots of her stuff because it's actually quite, it's good horror. Lucy's story arc is good horror. It just doesn't fit with what this is. Dracula is dating Lucy. He's kind of like this old sugar daddy to her, and she's like this kind of influencer who's about to get married.
Yeah.
And he kills her. But before that, he tells her never to get cremated because it means you can never pass on. So the graveyard is full of all these people that never get to pass on because they've been cremated. Well, of course, when she dies, what does her mother do? She starts cremating her.
Yeah. And like, you get a really bad explanation about why, but, like, basically she's undead, so her cells, like, basically don't split apart, and her soul doesn't pass on, so she basically lives through her own cremation. And I'm not sure if it was, like, is she traumatized to the point where she sees herself as, like, she doesn't realize that she's been, like, cremated.
Yeah.
And
there's
she's
this
like,
horrible reveal when other characters see her, and she's just this walking piece of bacon. It's really awful. It's really, if you're Squirmish at all, I don't recommend watching her sequence.
Yeah.
But she's got no clue. She's so kind of like they took the character of Lucy and made it, oh, she's so vain she doesn't even realize she's dead.
Yeah.
And it's like Lucy's character in the novel was, she's still loving and kind. She's not unkind, and Moffat made her very unkind.
Yeah. They actually they made her oblivious and mean to
Yes.
the boy who obviously quite liked her. I can't mind his name. But
I think it's
was
Arthur or something, yeah.
Yeah. And it was just like, I mean, to be fair, I actually thought they built quite a lot of good tension having all of the actors react to her before actually showing what she looked like cremated. Because, like, you see her walk into the room and you're almost seeing it from her perspective. She's seeing her reflection in mirrors and stuff like that in a way that it looks like Lucy pre-cremation. There's a line I never thought I'd say. Pre-cremation. And then you've got this bit where, like, a guy basically takes a selfie with her and it's like, yeah, this is what you look like, and she, like, proper freaks out.
But and it's very, her character in this is very uncharitable.
Yeah. Like,
it's so
really unlikable.
It was the funniest thing to me on Tumblr when everyone was watching Dracula Daily, because everyone just decided that Lucy and her 3 suitors were just in a polycule. They were just like, yeah, she's poly, yeah. There was no slut shaming. And even in the original Dracula canon, she wasn't slut shamed for having 3 suitors. The slut shaming and the fear over female sexuality only happened after she'd been killed and she'd been robbed of her humanity, and then she became the manifestation of Victorian fear over female freedom and sexuality. That's when that happened. There was, the men in her life that were fighting for her hand or whatever. There was never any, oh, it's her fault that she's got 3 suitors. It's, oh, she's so wonderful to have 3 suitors.
Yeah,
Dracula turned it into, no, she's a cheater, she's a slut, she's all these horrible words that he called her, and I'm like,
there's a really annoying character dynamic that I can't pinpoint all the examples, but it's like such a trodden, like, kind of trope. But she goes clubbing with her, like, gay best friend, and it's always the gay best friend who, like, calls her a slut. And like, has an aside, oh, like, people will be talking about you, oh, you're so slutty, and it, like, kind of passes over as a kind of giggly joke, and it's just, I fucking recoil at shit like that. I hate that dynamic where you've got the kind of, like good looking lassie, and then, like, the gay best friend who just, like, fucking talks down to her and treats her like shite. It's like, because it's condescending as hell. It's
so wild to me that the 21st century iteration is more misogynistic than the Victorian one.
yeah, it's funny that.
How much of a fuck up do you have to be that you make Bram Stoker look okay? Like, I just, like, as Tundra's pointing out in the chat as well, in the novel they weren't even fighting over her, they were just letting her decide. They were like, yeah, she's a good looking woman, she's smart, she's lovely, we'll just let her decide which of the 3 of us she picks. And there's genuine heartbreak when she dies. And
I feel like Quincy's character in this is really kind of unjustly done, because he's, like, portrayed as a total cunt, whereas, like, in the novel, does he not, like, go and fight for her, basically? Does he not try and, like, or does he not try no, he goes and fights Dracula, and he's actually portrayed as being quite brave.
Do you mean Quincy?
So, did you say
Quincy there?
Did I say, Did I say someone else?
I don't know. There's 3 of them, but Quincy is the American cowboy in the originals. And he is the one that dies, because he dies saving Mina, because he doesn't want Jonathan to lose Mina the way he lost Lucy.
Yeah, sorry.
So he's a very heroic, and he's aware of vampires, because in the novel, his horse got bitten by a vampire and he had to kill it or something. I don't know.
I like the Texan's horse was killed and he sings vengeance.
Bram Stoker's love letter to Walt Whitman's fucking wild. It's very kind of he's the only one other than Van Helsing who is aware of vampires, and he understands the danger they're all in. And he is very heroic. He is very, I'll do whatever it takes to save Mina because I couldn't help save Lucy. Yeah,
but, like, in this fucking iteration, he's he does propose to Lucy. I never understood that because he seemed like he's portrayed as this kind of like rich playboy type character, and there's this long drawn out conversation with the doctor guy, or the like where they're sitting in the club,
Yeah.
and like he's kind of like, yeah, he's almost like, yeah, I don't really care about her. And then there's like a scene where he's at Lucy's funeral and he's taking his bags to go to the airport to the funeral with him. He's attending the funeral and then he's gonna fly back to Texas because he's portrayed as like some sort of like foreign exchange student in this one, isn't he?
Yeah.
And it's like,
because she's not an heiress in this one. So
yeah.
the fact that he's treating it as if the only thing she had to offer is money makes no sense. Like, it's just such a weird, like, of all the ways you could have slotted all the guys in, like John Seward and like Quincy Morrison, Arthur, it's so badly done. It's like, tell me you skim read the Spark Notes of Dracula and decided you could do it better.
Yeah.
That is Steven Moffat's character. I don't even think he read Sherlock. I think he
just kind of got the gist of the mythos.
He got the gist of it, and then decided he could do it better. And Moffat always starts strong. He always starts strong, and then as soon as he has to hold the plot together, and as soon as he has to keep the characterization coherent, or make it something that's not just his one misogynistic genius man, it falls apart. He needs other writers to keep him on track. He suffers without that, and I think he was done a disservice when people herald him as a genius who revived Doctor Who, and I'm like, no, that was R.T. Davis. You just liked that his episodes were darker and edgy, and they were a little bit scary, and they were good for Halloween, but that only works if you have other stuff to hold it together. That can't be the entire premise of it. And the really good elements of horror from this come from Mark Gatiss. I don't remember his last name.
One of them. Like the thing is that like, I obviously there was bumpy bits in episode 1 and episode 2, right? But I had no idea there was going to be a modern bit in episode 3 in the moment, like in that first.
I almost wanted to watch it with you so that you could go, what the fuck?
Yeah, it was so utterly disappointing the moment I saw that fucking helicopter. But like, I kind of thought that obviously Moffat's kind of one-hit wonders. I've seen in chat we were talking about the "Are You My Mummy" episode of Doctor Who is obviously like a standout of the kind of Christopher Eccleston reboot, and then you've got Blink as well, which he's like kind of famed for. And then I was like,
which are all referenced in Dracula.
Yeah. I feel like
they're all referenced.
When's Blink referenced?
Blink is when in the castle when Jonathan's going through the haunted place and he turns away from things and then he turns back and the things have moved closer to him.
Oh fuck!
When he's being chased through the cemetery by the fallen angel and when he's discovering the grapes, basically it's the same sequence of horror. Every time he looks back, they're closer. Right,
of course. Sorry, I mentally blocked out that fucking bit.
and then, of course, as someone else pointed out in the chat, there's the small zombie boy who comes to Lucy's bed at night. Are you my mummy?
Yeah, what is it? Bloofer lady. Fucking hell. Yes. I was like, that's just annoying. But yeah, I think I thought that he was. I thought it wasn't going to be amazing. But I thought he was going to get away with it if episode 3 was similar to 1 and 2. I thought, it's not going to be a standout, but, you might get away with it. And then episode 3 just absolutely shits the bed. Because having that time jump, like, how the fuck are any, like, you've got this weird agency that was set up by Van Helsing and Mina's family, and that's the fucking...
Who's pregnant, apparently.
Yeah, loose fucking connection there, and then, like, it's trying to combine the start of the series to the end is just a joke. You can't do a massive time jump like that and not end up with people going, what? Because that's what I ended up going. I went, what? And then that fucking ending, it turns out that the Van Helsing descendant has cancer, and by basically taunting Dracula into drinking her blood, he gets to die. Because
the cells break down.
Yeah, and cancer kills vampires. Who knew?
Cancer's
You
the
don't
only
need
true way
garlic.
to kill vampires in Moffat's universe.
Which I imagine, I bet you when Moffat came up with that, he thought it was fucking so clever. He was like, imagine, look, this is the modern way to kill vampires. you fucking make them drink cancer.
Just to reiterate in the chat for everyone currently going through the 5 stages of grief, yes, that is how Moffat kills Dracula in this. It's not staking, it's not garlic, it's not sunlight, even though those are all things that he's shown to be vulnerable to. It is drinking cancer, because cancer breaks down the cells, which is how he explained to Lucy that the undead can't die.
Yeah. And then, the annoying thing about that is that at the end, it turns out he's actually fine when it comes to the sun.
Yeah, it's all psychosomatic.
Yeah, he's basically so... But the weird thing is like, she's trying to explain it to him, and like, the whole thing we've kind of not really talked about is that, like, Dracula absorbs the kind of memories and knowledge from the people who he devours. And she kind of explains that that's the reason why he's developed psychosomatic issues when it comes to the sun. But it's like, surely all these people could go into the sun, right?
Yeah.
Like,
it really makes no sense, because it's not even the sun in the first episode with Jonathan. It's not even the sun that gets him. It's the cross. It's the sun shining off the cross that gets him.
Well, that's what I thought it was. That's like, see when Thingy Harker is like standing at the top, and then Dracula recoils. I was like, the sun's hit his cross and is like beamed it towards him. But that's psychosomatic as well, is it not?
Yeah, everything is. He's actually completely invulnerable except for cancer. That is the only thing. And the thing is, it's portrayed as he's happy it's happening because he can finally be free.
Sorry. The cross thing isn't psychosomatic. It's like he recoils from the cross because it reminds him that he can't die. And it's like, he instead feels great shame. He's like, because the Van Helsing's like telling him at the end, it's like, yeah, all of your family, died on the battlefield, and you'll never get that chance, and you feel shame. That's why whenever you see a cross, you remember that Jesus was able to die for our sins, and
you're like, jealous of Jesus because Jesus died.
And it's like, Dracula didn't know Jesus. It's not like his best mate got to die on the cross. It's very, very fucking strange.
It is so weird. It is such a tell me you don't understand religion and or any of the lore you're playing with, and then you have Steven Moffat's writing style.
Tundra
in the chat, Jesus pretty famously didn't stay dead.
Yeah, exactly. The fucking the other thing that I thought was really weird, so you've got, like, it doesn't just show Dracula like biting Van Helsing's and drinking her cancer from her body. Like, instead it cuts to this like really weird scene where they're like basically on this kind of like nice velvety kind of bed, and they're embracing each other, and
it's so weird.
It's so weird. It's like
it's like American. What was that? American Beauty. Like with the weird velvet and like the kind of like the soft lighting and the rose petals, it almost looks. It's supposed to be like a lover's embrace.
Yeah, it's a lover's embrace,
but there's zero sexual tension to get them there.
And like, I mean, he's naked and has his cock out, whereas like you could tell that the actress who was Van Helsing was like, "Can you at least like drape it round me?" So I'm not like, so I've got the covers. But yeah, it was a really weird way to end it, and then it just ends. Like, then the credits roll the moment.
The credits roll.
Like, yeah, that's it. Done.
Nothing is tied up. The secret agency is not tied up. Jonathan Harker's descendant is never tied up.
Nah.
It's just JK, this whole time you've had psychological issues, Dracula.
It was like the real barrier to Dracula's world domination was his mental health. Which, I mean, fair enough. But see, funny thing, the woman who plays Mina is Galadriel in The Rings of Power.
She is, yes.
Which I was like, I recognise her from somewhere. She does look quite different. I think she's playing quite a meek character. Like Mina's quite like nervous
which again, Mina is not a meek character.
No,
it just annoys me so much. Like Dracula has my heart. I mean, it's no surprise that I like vampires, but the biggest thing from the books is that Mina is, after Van Helsing, everyone knows she's the smartest person there.
Yeah.
She uncovers everything. She's the most stalwart. She's got the most strength. Even when she's turned into a vampire, she's turning to Jonathan and saying, "Look, you're going to have to kill me." And Jonathan's going, "No, I'll follow you into hell. I'm not going to kill you." But she is the adamant one. She is, Van Helsing called her the light of lights. She is the strongest female character. She is female virtue personified. She is strong. She is capable. She's smart. And her husband will follow her into hell. Mina in this is very cringy, very kind of meek and mild, and just doesn't have
meek and mild, but also naive as well. I kind of hate the thing in horror where like someone's just like clearly got no kind of common sense. Like I'd like to think if I was in like a horror situation, there's like some things that I would obviously be immediately skeptical and on the defense about. But she kind of gives the benefit of the doubt, and she's like, "Oh, don't worry, I'll invite in her partner or fiance,
Jonathan Harker, yeah.
Harker.
Johnny.
Yeah, Johnny.
Johnny boy.
Oh,
forgive me. Johnny, who is also Dracula's bride.
Yeah, but it's like she does it the first time, and then Dracula gets in and fucking runs rampage through the whole nunnery, and then her and Van Helsing end up in the kind of basement where they're barricaded, and she fucking invites him in again, and I'm like, come on, you've been like,
if your fiance stabbed himself with a stake to keep himself from eating you, and then he shows up and is begging to be let in,
I would be skeptical.
No.
Yeah, I would be skeptical.
I'm going to be like, we're going to wait till sunrise, and then we're going to have this discussion again. Then you can come into my living room.
Ideally in the direct sunlight.
Yeah. But no, she is dumb as a sack of rocks, and she invites him in for a second time after he's already proven that he will try to eat her, basically.
Yeah.
Because again, they made Jonathan undead in this for some reason.
This is the thing that gets me about the agency, right? So the agency in the third episode is described as founded by Van Helsing and Mina, right?
Mm-hmm. In memory of Jonathan Harker.
In memory of Jonathan Harker. How?
They never explain it. It's just implied that they make it to England.
But they don't. Like Mina would escape. I understand that. Van Helsing's on the Demeter though.
When it blows up.
Where it blows up and she dies. She sacrifices herself.
Wait, is it not implied that she's the original Van Helsing in the modern one? It's just that she lied and said she was the descendant. Is that not what that is?
No, because he remarks that she's a Van Helsing though.
Uh-huh.
He recognizes that she's a descendant of Van Helsing.
Because he recognizes the blood, yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, so fucking plot hole there. Like what's the timeline between Van Helsing and how does Van Helsing and Mina found a fucking institution that works to take down Dracula when Van Helsing immediately goes on to the Demeter and dies there?
Yeah. It's never explained. You're just supposed to have faith in it. And then when the same actress shows up and is like, "Oh, I'm a descendant of Van Helsing," you're just supposed to roll with it, I guess.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been saying this a lot recently. It helps my imposter syndrome. People just expect me to roll with these things, and I'm like, I spent the last fortnight agonizing over a plot hole. If I was Steven Moffat, I wouldn't have given a fuck. I'd have just gone, I'm smarter than everyone, and just carried on my merry way.
I think that is the big. I mean, like, I don't know what Steven Moffat's next thing is. I imagine it will be another classic story, and it will get reimagined into modern times, and we'll see. Oh, it'll be like Frankenstein or something like that. It'll be painful, won't it?
Oh, there's the Oscar Isaac Frankenstein that's coming out soon with Guillermo del Toro as the director, which I am ready for.
Yeah, that sounds like. I was going to say that sounds like it'll be good. And yeah, there's a Dracula Renfield.
I want to see Renfield.
Nicolas Cage.
Want to see Renfield.
Nicolas Cage's Dracula will be quite fun, I think.
Yeah,
but
it's not trying to be. From the looks of Renfield, it's trying to be a comedy. It's not trying to be serious, edgy. It might be an edgy comedy, but it's not trying to be grim, dark. Look how smart I am. It's literally Nicolas Cage as Dracula, and you have Renfield going to therapy to try and get away from him, which I think is actually quite funny. I think that's actually also very, that's almost canonical, because Renfield ends up in the asylum getting treatment after he knows Dracula. So it's, there's touches of that there. But I love goofy vampire material when it's intentional.
Yeah.
I love the Hammer horrors. Like, I love the original Bela Lugosi. I love all those, even though they are a bit campy by today's standards. But they're told cohesively.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
That's actually two things I had an issue with in episode 1, that I think, like, the castle itself is creepy enough without the weird zombie chase that they inserted into it. There was also this really, really fucking funny scene where I imagine they were trying to do like the Ring type thing, where like it's kind of creepy movement. So you had like Dracula coming out of the wolf at the gates, and that was quite creepy. But then it cut to this like really, really drawn out camera pan of Dracula like running up the wall of the nunnery, but it was taken from such naked, balls naked, but it was taken from such like a wide shot. It's like if you were to look out your house into like you saw someone like 100 meters away, like running up the side of a building. It didn't look creepy. It didn't look like someone was coming to get you. It was like, look at that madman, mad lads just running up the side of the wall.
Mad lad on the night of the town. He's had one too many. He's just crawling up the side of the walls, covered in blood.
Yeah, I have looked up what Steven Moffat is working on. You'll be pleased. You'll be pleased to know that he is writing adventures for Doctor Who. He's going to do more Doctor Who stuff. He's in Ncuti Gatwa's Time Lord. But that'll be fun. Let me guess, we're going to get Blink 6. Blink harder.
Yeah, there's going to be more angels.
Oh, there's
the first time the angels showed up, terrifying. When the gimmick's been done so many times, it kind of loses that kind of the novelty slightly. But it's just, he really just doesn't know how to deviate from his one. Oh, this gets successful, I'll keep doing it. Like, yeah. Moffat already did Jekyll. He did already do that.
Yeah, he did Jekyll, and it's atrocious.
Jekyll with Tom Bateman. Again, he's an edgelord who thinks he knows better than everyone.
Yeah, the editing on that is atrocious. The editing on Jekyll and Hyde is very not good. It's interesting. I'm panning through his Wikipedia page. I'm actually going to direct something about Steven Moffat's life, and I'm just going to like fucking like ad-lib it from what I get from his Wikipedia. The thing that I really like, just I'm not a fan of Steven Moffat at all, but he's so BBC it hurts. Like he's like BBC to the fucking core, but he's that kind of like wanky creative BBC person. and it's like, I think his wife's a BBC executive, his mother-in-law
Which
is a
is the
BBC
reason he
executive.
gets on those jobs.
Yeah. And it's like,
Uh,
his
yeah.
mother-in-law's a BBC executive, and he's like, I feel like he's that kind of guy that like turns on his Scottishness when he thinks that it's like beneficial for him, because he's from Paisley.
He's from Paisley. You
And
wouldn't know it.
yeah, I feel like he proper toggles it on and off when it suits him. I reckon he sits in fucking London bars and he like absolutely pumps the brakes on his accent. No, unfortunately, he's Scotland's.
He's Scottish.
It's the kind. I'm trying to think. Is there actually a worse like Scottish output from a creative perspective, apart from my streams?
I will fight you on that. There is nothing wrong with your stream.
No, I'm thinking like, I mean, Gerard Butler can sometimes kind of. Like, I mean, to be fair to Gerard Butler, I think he's done a not bad job being like a Hollywood action hero. But yeah, Steven Moffat, OBE. He's got an Order of the British Empire, so jail for 1,000,000 years.
I like the fact that Cybernetic Saurus was saying they got an ad in the middle of that, so all they heard was, he's Scotland's throbbing headache.
Yeah. So just to give you a wee bit of an idea of how, like, I want to say, like, kind of like incestuous that, like, kind of tight-knit family is. So his mother-in-law is Beryl Frances Virtue, who has a most excellent order of the British Empire. She's a CBE. So yeah, I feel like
He married into extreme privilege.
Yeah, order of chivalry. The motto is for God and the Empire. Fucking yeah. So
there was something to be said about how he kept getting these roles. His wife was the producer for a lot of these kind of things, or she knew the producers who were working on the shows that he ended up working on. And that's the only reason I think he got in, because he's honestly just kind of, he's all right. He's okay. He should not be a show leader or showrunner.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know how you can fuck up something as classic as Dracula in a way that's worse than anything that's come before. Like, it makes the Keanu Reeves Dracula look really good. It's probably the best one, actually, and even then it's not faithful to the novel. There has never been a faithful adaptation of the novel where you have everybody. Most of them don't even include Quincy Morris, which is a shame because Quincy's a fantastic character. But it's just, how do you make it so that other people that are kind of like, they accept that the genre is campy and it's got its bad elements, and everybody's kind of going, oh no.
Yeah.
and again, like, you have Mark Gatiss, who is a horror enthusiast.
Yeah.
Like, is your ego so big that you cannot be told, actually, this needs to be rewritten to make it coherent? The answer is probably yes for Steven Moffat.
Yeah. Like, I'll be perfectly honest, and I know that this is like kind of sacrilege, especially on Tumblr, especially Tumblr during the 2012, 13, and 14 year. I absolutely fucking hated Sherlock, right? I watched one episode and I fucking despised it. And I've never understood any of the Stan stuff. I've never understood any of the fan blogs about Sherlock. I hated it. I absolutely hated it. And like, I've been able to avoid that part of Tumblr. I didn't find it impressive at all. And apparently like, what I saw in the first episode, everyone else apparently saw when they were finishing season 3 or 4 or whatever it was. Was it season 4?
I don't even know.
Did they do
anymore.
Season 4?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Blanked it from your memory. And then
I like the potential it had. I like the potential it had because it's BBC, it's high budget, you had a good-ish cast, and then it just completely fell apart for me. Like, I remember watching it because it was literally the first episode aired 2 days after my best pal's wedding, and I remember watching it in the hotel room drinking champagne and thinking, this isn't too bad, but that in hindsight that could have been the champagne.
Yeah. Maybe that's the trick actually. Maybe you just need to get
hammered.
Just get fucking pissed, and then you'll try and you'll be able to get your way through. It's funny because like me and my family, like growing up, I remember when the Doctor Who reboot happened, like every single Saturday without fail, my entire family would be, on the couch and we'd watch like Doctor Who, and we'd watch all the Christopher Eccleston ones, and we watched all the David Tennant ones, and then we saw like Matt Smith like one episode, and we were like, yeah, we don't need to do this as a family anymore.
That was pretty much. I did not like. It just became progressively more and more misogynistic the longer Steven Moffat was there. Amy Pond. The potential for Amy Pond was fantastic, and it just. I mean, even River's song, the way it was all done was just terrible.
Yeah.
And this is no shade to anyone who does enjoy it. I mean, you like what you like. Get better soon. But it's to me, it's the lost potential that hurts the most. Because those were, I grew up watching the original Who. My dad had all the VHS tapes. I was a Who fanatic, and I haven't watched it since... I watched one episode of Peter Capaldi,
right,
and I stopped.
Was that the episode where they made some passing fucking reference to Scottish independence, and it was painful for everyone involved?
I think so.
Yeah.
But then, because Peter Capaldi is the same as me, he's a big Who nerd. He should have been the best Doctor, because Peter Capaldi loves Doctor Who. The material he had to work with, however, was subpar. I've not seen of all my Tumblr friends that are still Whovians. I see David Tennant gifs. I see Matt Smith. I see Eccleston. I see oh god, that's terrible. What's her name? Blonde female Doctor. I've completely blanked. I am so sorry. But I've never seen any of the Jodie. Thank you, Jodie Whittaker. Thank you so much, chat. But I don't see any of the Peter Capaldi ones ever, and I'm like, that's so sad because it was his dream role. He always wanted to be Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how do you fuck up so badly that even Peter Capaldi's like, yeah, I don't really watch it anymore.
yeah, exactly. Nah, it's a shame. I just remember tuning out like the Matt Smith stuff like completely. I think I did try and watch it, like, because like there was people like talking about it at least for a wee bit. And I watched up to the one where it was like, what if Blink but more? And then there was like a future like sci-fi British army that like fought the Weeping Angels, and they had like a ship, and
it's always a secret agency with Moffat. There's always a government branch that's hidden from every other government branch. And they're fully aware of the threat, but they don't act on it properly.
That's a good fucking point, actually, because there's a secret agent, and I know there's a secret agency in Sherlock, and I know that there's a secret agency in Jekyll and Hyde,
and Doctor Who,
yeah,
Unit, yes,
fucking garbage. We'll never. Okay, I'm never speaking to. I hope I never meet Steven Moffat, because I'm just gonna be like, ugh. Don't want to talk to you.
Honestly, that the interaction I had with him where he was perving on my bridesmaids, I was like, great, fantastic, like, just it was so creepy. Like it was.
Thanks, creep.
All my bridesmaids were wearing TARDIS blue dresses.
Yeah.
Fairly, they were kind of like that 50s swing style. Nothing too revealing. He went out of his way to find physical attributes to comment on. He couldn't say what a lovely wedding party, or even just...
Hope you have a good wedding.
So glad to hear you had a wonderful wedding. So glad you're a fan, whatever. And I felt terrible for my bestie at work who went out of her way to get this autograph for me because she was so excited because she got it for me. And I was left holding it like, wow, that's horrible. He just used that opportunity to perv on my bridesmaids. We were, how old were we? 24, whilst his 40-something wife is sitting there with their kids looking on. and he's making Kirby comics about a bunch of 20-year-olds.
So fucking weird.
One of them was also under 20 because it was Mothman's baby sister. So
right, okay, Jesus Christ.
It just gets worse. It just gets worse and worse.
Yeah, fucking hell.
But, that was my the moment where I realised, oh, he's not just kind of like bad. He's like the misogyny.
He's not just bad. He's like bad person bad.
Yeah.
What a cunt.
He did recently come out and say it's not that hard to respect people's pronouns. So he's got that going for him, but he's still a total arsehole. But it's just
just more people for him to be misogynistic.
pretty much. But it was just such a moment of like, oh, maybe there's other people responsible for the misogyny that goes on. No.
Sorry, trans-inclusive radical misogynist. If we don't laugh, we'll cry. But yeah, so I'm done with Dracula. Thanks for the pain, Joy.
You're welcome. It's payback for making me watch Figaro.
Yeah, you do know that next week's my turn to suggest something now. So
we're playing a game next week. So
I know. I'm saying 2 weeks from now. I'm gonna find something. I'm gonna find something bad.
In 2 weeks' time, Renfield's out. So.
Right. I feel like the ball would very much be in your court if we just covered vampire content.
Vampires for the rest of the year. No, we won't do that. But yeah, your turn next time. We'll see what psychological damage you can inflict.
Yeah, we'll see what we get up to. So what have you been doing this week, Joy, besides making me suffer over Dracula?
I've been getting the hardbacks ready to ship. I've been doing the last couple of the hardbacks that are going out for Patreon. So if you are a patron and you happen to be listening to this, please check your spam folder because apparently they're all going into spam. I also have been doing a lot of other little bits and projects here and there with the next book. So that's my, I can't talk about it, but that's what my life is currently consumed by. What's Lysandra's asking in the chat? What's a terrible werewolf movie we can watch? That's a good one.
Twilight.
Werewolf of London.
Twilight.
We could go for that one. We're not. No.
Twilight.
Twilight.
All of them. Every single one.
I did not survive crucifix nail nipples to get dragged back into Twilight.
Yeah,
I've done my time.
No, it should be. That's exactly what we should do. No, it's not. No, I can't watch that. I can't watch that. Because how many films are there? 5?
I think so.
Yeah.
We could always go back and watch 50 Shades of Grey.
Really?
People that followed me from my old streaming days all currently having flashbacks. That was the one we were watching that to see how bad it actually was, and the entire chat safe worded and we stopped the movie and watched something else.
What was the safe word?
Red. We just used the
red.
Stop line.
Red.
The entire stream was just like everyone screaming red, and we just ended up stopping.
Okay, I'm gonna use it. I'm gonna use it now, so we don't need to.
That is vetoed. We're not doing that.
Yeah, I don't like. I think there's probably better stuff out there that we can watch rather than 50 Shades. Yeah, definitely not a film that I'm particularly interested in. Don't know. Never seen myself in the shoes of that guy. I don't know what the guy's name is.
Christian Grey.
Yes, I don't see myself as a Christian Grey type person, to be honest.
I mean, when Crucifix Nail Nipples came out, or when I was editing Crucifix Nail Nipples and stopped it from coming out, everything was a 50 Shades spin-off or a Twilight spin-off, which is the same thing. And you had so many people writing inaccurate BDSM, harmful BDSM, and it was the bane of my existence because I was the kink safety expert on staff. My publishing house literally paid for me to go to kink conventions and safety awareness conventions.
Oh, nice.
So that they would not perpetuate things like zip ties and which are bad because they can cut off circulation and they're very hard to get off. So there was a lot of things that when I did all these things, we were getting all these books in, and you can tell the person had only read 50 Shades of Grey, and I was having to be like, can we change this to something more positive and kink safety and friendly and blah blah blah, and the author would inevitably pitch a fic going, well, it worked for 50 Shades, and I'm going, yes, it shouldn't have, but Little Brown Publishing has no standards.
Yes.
So how do you write non-harmful BDSM? You do it safely. You can write dark themes all you want, but the thing is, the rate of injuries that occurred in the bedroom after 50 Shades became popular skyrocketed. There was lots and lots of instances of people losing fingers and hands to like zip ties, which is a prominent theme in the book. So if anything, just don't use zip ties. That's the one takeaway from this. Don't use zip ties for anything in sex, please.
I feel like it's funny how, I mean, I imagine quite a lot of those injuries where you're kind of heteronormative kind of couples, and it's like there's like I don't know. I think if you want to prepare for something like that, it's preparation. You need to prepare for something like that. It's like there's always the straight guys that think you can just like dive in and do anal. It's really fucking easy, apparently, because everyone's arsehole's a slip and slide.
Well, that's the poison of certain porn. That is the poison of not seeing the certain realities of it, and it, some of the best things I've read and also seen have been the things that include not just aftercare, but the pre-play as well.
Yeah.
And this is not where I thought this conversation was going to go after talking about Moffat's Dracula. It's
just picture Steven Moffat and we'll divert to something else.
There's a lot to be said for the showing the intimacy of it. Intimacy builds tension for a lot of things, and there's a certain psychological thrill to the idea of, oh yeah, I'm getting prepared to get absolutely railed. And they never build up to any of it in a lot of these books, and it was my main gripe with a lot of the ones that are heralded as, oh, this is fantastic BDSM or kink representation. I'm going, it's not really, it's just dark romance, and dark romance is fine, but if you're going to talk about it as if it's like a representation of a community, then it should be researched. I might be biased. Just because of the job I had, I was the kink safety person on staff, but it's just I don't know. It's kind of a little bit of effort goes a long way, and that's true for fiction and real life. A little bit of effort will carry you very far. Oh, I just saw you plugging Hunger Pangs in the chat. Thank you.
But nah, you can thank Tundra. I just posted the link. Tundra was doing that job. Sorry, we both paused to read chat there for a second.
Yeah. The favourite part of the podcast, our semi-regular reminder that Joy is the hero who single-handedly saved us all from crucifix nail nipples. If you are finding this podcast and you don't know what this is, it's okay, you can Google it. The first result is my blog.
Yeah.
I say it's okay, it's not okay, but it's it's not, there's no visuals, you're not going to get fired at work.
Yeah, Joy did win the poll on Twitter. Do you want to tell us about that?
So I don't check my Twitter notifications because Twitter's a dumpster fire. Someone on Tumblr actually let me know that I was up on Queer Liberation Library. We're running a March Madness Twitter poll, and I was up against all these multi-award winning, hugely famous authors that had won Hugos and Nebulas and all sorts of fun things. And I was like, oh, well, never mind. It was nice to be thought of as I think I'm the only indie one there. And I didn't assume anything of it. I posted the link to Tumblr, and Tumblr smashed it. I went from losing to winning by a significant margin. I got next to the next round, and then it happened again. I beat somebody else with multiple awards and several thousand Twitter followers. I kept getting through, and then I was up against Gretchen Fletcher, I think is the name. Manhunt, which is a apocalyptic crime thriller queer media book. And I haven't read it yet because I'm a big scaredy cat. I don't really like horror. But I won with 69% of the vote. So I am Queer Liberation's March Madness Queen of the Month with 69% win. Because some of you voted against me so that it went from 75 to 69, and I very much appreciate that. Thank you so much for your
you've got to keep on brand with these things, you know. Nah, that's brilliant. So this week for me, I was down in London. I was down in the belly of the beast. Actually, London's grown on me a smidge. So it gets 1 point for having really good donuts.
It does. I don't mind visiting London. I just wouldn't want to live there.
Yeah, oh hell no. Like, absolutely not.
For one thing, I couldn't afford to live there.
Yeah. But it was, it was good. Like, for anyone who doesn't know, I was at a game convention would probably be the best way to describe it. It's called W.A.S.D or W.A.S.D. And it's like a kind of showcase for a lot of indie games. So I got to play like a bunch of really cool games that I cannot wait to stream. I absolutely can't wait to stream. It'll be like so much fun. There was one game in particular that I think stole the show by how cool it is, and it's actually a Scottish developer. It's called Viewfinder.
That one.
And the perspective. So it's like a kind of perspective puzzle game, right? But it's super fucking clever. You can find pictures in the world, and like as in they've been taken from like a camera, and I can't remember the name of the camera that prints it immediately. What's the cameras that like print the picture immediately?
Oh my god,
Polaroids. There we go. Thank you. So like you find like Polaroids, and you can like hold them up, and then you can like basically click to keep them in place, and then you can step through them and like traverse the world through that. It gets even cooler. You actually get a Polaroid camera so you can take pictures of things like in the world and then use them to solve puzzles. It is so fucking clever. It was like one of those. Honestly, it's like a game that you see and you go, yeah, that's going to be an absolute banger when it comes out.
Oh.
Other game I played was a game called A Highland Song. There is a Scottish theme here, and the Highland Song's actually from the studio. A lot of you have always encouraged me to play Heaven's Vault, which was like the language one, which was kind of cool. But they're coming out with a game called The Highland Song, where you play this like wee Scottish lassie called Moira, who's like run into like she's traveling from her house to see her uncle who lives in a lighthouse, but she like traverses the Highlands. So it's a half adventure exploration game and half a rhythm game. So there's like bits where you have to traverse like basically Munros, and sprinting from point A to B, it becomes a rhythm game, and Kaylee music kicks in as you run from peak to peak, and it is so fucking good. When I was playing the demo, I actually got like weirdly emotional about it because it was so nice, and the art for it is lovely. So it's not the same as Metal Hellsinger or Bullets Per Minute, but like think of it more like Guitar Hero, but like you're clicking certain buttons as you jump from like bit to bit, and like it was really nice. So I'm looking forward to that coming out.
That sounds really fun, actually. I will say you sent me that picture of
Mask of the Rose.
Mask of the Rose, and yes. I screamed slightly. I'm not looking forward to that at all. I'm not desperate for that game to come out. I actually had a chat with the devs of Mask of the Rose, and it was really cool. So I was chatting to one of the producers, who's been working on it, and like, because I hadn't played Sunless Skies or I think it's Sunless Seas as well. Sunless Seas, Sunless Skies, and then they've got their browser game, which is called Fallen London. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was really cool. Like just hearing about the making of Mask of the Rose, because it is quite a small. Is Ha! I hope I rolled high to get Joy a copy. I've done fucking more than that. Let me tell you. I won't say anything on it just now. I have done way more than that. I rolled fucking higher, and that might be quite cool. But the you if you've seen any of the artwork for like Mask of the Rose, it's like a game that like I played some of the demo of it, and I thought the demo was really quite cool. So when you create your character, you can specify what your character's kind of like interested in. So you can see that they're not interested in kind of anyone, right? Which is fair. You can specify that they're interested in romance, but not physical intimacy. And then you can specify that they're into physical intimacy, but not romance. So you've got that choice in your character creation, which I find kind of cool. And then
they're the one of the few game companies that have always been very good about Arrow Ace inclusivity. So it's, and you can also in Fallen London, I think you have those options now. Don't quote me on that, but it was always a kind of an option that you could be like, I'm not interested in romance, and the demon characters would kind of leave you alone.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've always been good about, even Sunless Seas and Sunless Skies uses gender neutral pronouns for, the captain is called Z Captain.
Yeah.
As in, like, just neo pronouns, which I've always loved the developers for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad that they've carried that over into Mask of the Rose, or Mark of the Rose.
Yeah, it's funny because as we were kind of talking about it, they were saying, like, there's so much happening in the background when you're having conversations, with NPCs. So like, I don't know how Sunless Skies and Sunless Seas play, but like you could put on different outfits, and that would unlock different dialogue options. So you could like experiment with, like, if you were to wear certain clothing, that would impact your thing. But at the same time, like, all of the NPCs are like remembering what you said and did. Like they said, like the Telltale games, when like it flashed up on the top left of the screen saying this character.
Remember that?
Yeah, they said that they didn't bother doing something like that because it would just constantly be there otherwise. Yeah. It's like there's a lot that the NPCs are remembering you do, and a lot of that feeds into like the branching paths.
Yeah, it's more similar to because Sunless Sea and Sunless Skies, you are only ever piloting your ship.
Yeah.
So this is much more like Fallen London, and I've been playing. Fallen. I don't know how old Fallen London is at this point, but I remember playing it before. I think I was still dating Mothman. I don't even think we're married. Was when I first started playing it. I've been playing it for over a decade at this point. It still holds up as a really fun browser game, and you can pay for extra perks, but it's fine to just not, like, you don't lose anything by not paying for stuff.
Yeah.
But it's always been so good, and I'm really excited to see them actually turning that aspect into like an actual game. So yeah, when you sent me that image, and I just I may have like almost dropped my phone. So, but I was like, I've been waiting for it for years. I'm just super excited. I'm so happy to hear that they're sticking to their being inclusive and like just doing all the things that made Fallen London great, to be honest.
Yeah, it's funny because on the poster you've got some of the characters for the game, and the artwork's really nice. I will say that both the environment artwork serves as a backdrop to your NPC conversations and the NPCs themselves. On the right of the banner that I sent you, there's like a Cthulhu type character.
Oh yes, so there is.
And I did ask, and I was like, look, Twitch chat needs to know, can you romance Cthulhu? And he was like, of course you can. And another nice thing about it is saying that you can also, if you're not interested in doing any kind of like romancing yourself, you can actually play matchmaker for the characters in the game as well.
Yeah, I saw that.
Which I thought was kind of cool. So I dare say that'll be very much talked about when it comes out.
If you're into steampunk or Gaslamp, or if you like Hunger Pangs, you would like Fallen London, and you will probably like this game. I'll throw that out there right now. You will probably like Mask of the Rose if you like Gaslamp or steampunk.
Yeah.
So it's a good one. I think it's out May, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I
Uh,
think it's coming out pretty soon.
yeah.
And then yeah, so Vampire Survivors was there. That's where I got this T-shirt. There was actually 3 T-shirts you could win throughout the 3 days. You had to complete a stage each day. So naturally, I returned home with way more clothes than I went down with. Um, but like, and that was cool. And of course, Vampire Survivors won won BAFTAs. So the BAFTAs were actually on Thursday night. The gaming BAFTAs. And Vampire Survivors won 2. They won 1 for game design, and they also won best game. So like their BAFTAs were there, which was cool. And then they announced their DLC, and
Nice.
the DLC was playable while it was at the demo, which was really cool. I can't say much on it, but it was really cool to play. Um, Also played a couple other games, like there was the System Shock remaster was there, Dead Island 2, which we've been kind of like waiting on for like 10 years at this point, was there. But yeah, it was generally quite good. Terra Nil was there. Um, so Terra Nil that I played on stream like last week. It was there, it was
Yeah.
cool. Also got a picture with the Lamb from Cult of the Lamb, who was like walking around menacingly holding a sword. Um,
I
but
saw that
yeah,
in your Discord, which,
yeah.
by the way, if you're not in I's Discord,
Oh no, don't you dare! Nah, people can join the Discord if they like. Um, but yeah, it was really cool, and I suppose like obviously I could talk about like the game aspect of it for ages, but it was really interesting kind of going down there like as a creator, which is a thing that I don't like saying. It seems weird, but it's maybe something I need to kind of just lean into. But there was a
it's only cringy because you're associating with the other people that you don't like. You are
true,
a creator in your own right, and you do game dev now too.
yeah,
So
that's
you're gonna have to deal with it. If I have to sign influencer on my goddamn IRS, you have to deal with it.
you know what? I'm actually I think I'm like 6,000 followers on Tumblr away from meeting that threshold of not being able to sell vitamins.
Yeah.
But like it was quite nice because there was a creator lounge, which this is gonna sound very bougie, but there was a creator lounge there where it was basically a space where you could like charge your phone, have a drink, chat with people, and but they had donuts. They had these donuts. They had like I've never been served donuts like this before, right? But instead of just being like a pile of donuts or like a box of donuts that you take one, there was like it was like a coat rack almost. It was like a gold coat rack, and a donut was hanging on each thing, and you had to like slide the donut out. It's the only way I want to be served donuts for the rest of my life. I thought it was brilliant.
You've been spoiled by this one convention.
I know. But yeah, it was good. Like it was interesting, kind of striking that balance between like, hi, this is like because some people introduce themselves as their like stream name, like
Yeah.
which is difficult to be honest, because like some people absolutely don't like they will only go by the stream name, which is strange because it's like
It's probably their LLC too, so they're introducing their business as well. That's
yeah,
probably part of it.
and I get that, but like I am X from this, or I
Yes.
am this person who goes. It's like I'm not fucking calling you that name. It's got numbers in it. You're like, it's like, oh hi, mad fucker 69. You wouldn't call someone that. But yeah, it was interesting on that extent. It was a fun 3 days. I am fucking shattered. It's like, yeah, it was just a lot. Introducing themselves by their stream name, so weird, isn't it? Mr. for Scotland. Yeah. It's like, yeah, I think I kind of just go by my first name that no one knows, like when I'm down there, because it just seems like the thing to do. And of course I was there from like a kind of industry perspective as well. There was actually there was a couple of talks throughout, so it was like it was interesting. It was like half kind of games convention where like people could go and play demos, but there was also, for anyone who's interested, there was like a careers section as well. So like there was a couple of universities there that were like pushing their courses, and then there was also talks. So there was talks every single day, and I got to like listen to a couple of them talk about whether it's community management or whether it's like game publishing. Like it was quite cool like that. So yeah, that was fun. I'll be writing more about stuff. I don't want to review every single game I played on this podcast because I feel like we'll be here forever. And Joy, you would probably just be like,
I enjoyed listening to you talk about it. It's more just like we have 20 minutes left.
Yes, that's true. But yeah, I think from like traveling down to London, it was fine. It was nice. To be fair, there was actually one place that I went for lunch that was fucking banging. Right, it's called like Spitalfield Market. So it's like a big kind of like
I think I've been there.
Enclosed market. Like, you know, it's one of those ones that's kind of like open plan, but it's under a roof, but it kind of feels outside. Like think kind of the Barras kind of,
but nicer.
Well, yeah, a wee bit more pucker, but like there's just like all these kind of food things there, and I had soup dumplings one day, and like that's just good. I like my food. But yeah, got back really fucking late last night because I went from the convention to Liverpool Street Station and then out to Stansted, which is an hour-long train, which is not fun. And then I found out that my flight was delayed, so I had to sit in Stansted Airport for way too long, and got back about 2 o'clock in the morning.
He's tired, is what you're saying.
Yeah, no, I'm 100%. I'm gonna die tomorrow. Like, I mean, I'm gonna basically.
Because you've also got Spiritfall launching tomorrow.
Yeah, Spiritfall launches tomorrow. Everyone, please go buy it when it launches. Please it basically justifies my job. So, but no, we're launching in early access, and that's gonna be good. I think that's gonna be really good. It's a
game.
Yeah, I think so.
From the demo I played and from what I've seen from you playing it, it's really fun. I really like the character design in it.
Yeah, like the art style drew me into it because I admit, like, fucking hell, it was like maybe 10 months ago where I got to play the demo for it, and I liked the art at the time, and then I joined the team. It's gonna be really weird seeing my name in the credits though. I'm quite like. There's a really young Eye for Scotland playing his first video game who doesn't quite know that I'll be in the credits of a video game at some point. So it's a kind of
nice moment though.
It's a fucking nice moment. I'm looking forward to it. I'm gonna make sure that when it launches that my name is still in the credits. I feel like they might take it out. I don't know, but I'm excited for it. I think it'll be good.
You should be. You've worked hard on it.
I'm gonna be, it's gonna be a nerve-wracking day tomorrow, but hopefully there's just gonna be a bunch of like streams and stuff. Like we've got like content creators kind of like lined up. Tons of people will be streaming it on Twitch, so fingers crossed. And then we'll see how we go. But for anyone who is actually interested in it, it does have a discount on launch, so I think it's like 10% off. Are you going to be doing? So if you actually look at the Steam broadcast just now, it is me. You'll very clearly hear my accent narrating my gameplay. Thank you very much, Tundra, for dropping that in chat. So yeah, we're basically like it's a pre-recorded video, obviously. And yeah, it's just my voice playing the game and it just looping like continuously. But yeah, it should be good.
It'll be good. I'm sorry, I'm distracted by Holly Mop going absolutely mint.
I know, I've been watching that the tail for the past 10 minutes. Very excited.
She keeps going to her bowl and back up again. She thinks it's dinner time, but it's not.
Ah.
So.
And yeah, how what's the hour what's the fucking time gap between us now? Is it
Yeah,
6?
we're back to normal. We're back to 6
Oh,
because
yeah,
your
back to
daylight
6.
savings time caught up. But she got spoiled for those 2 weeks where it was different because she was getting fed earlier because our stream was at a different time. So she's like, it must be time.
Yeah. Nah, it's aye. I think I'm beginning to
We're
slowly crash. I'm feeling it. I'm like, oh,
I
oh,
can see you crashing.
oh.
So I think we're going to call it quits.
No,
Thank
that's
you so much for everyone who came today. It was really nice to see everybody after such a long hiatus.
yes. We will be trying to I think. Yeah, I think at the moment our Ayesphere plays stuff and like this kind of rhythm's working for us because I think we're able to do kind of like fuller topics. Like I feel like our like Dracula today, for example, we're able to get like a solid like hour and 20 minutes out of like a topic that we've kind of prepared, and then we go into tangents and all the rest of it after it.
It's also just good for us to have a break like that. We could prepare for it, but we're both really busy.
Yeah.
Like, how do we fit this in and still keep it fun so that we're not just like, oh, it's Sunday.
Yeah.
Like, I never want to wake up and go, oh God, it's Sunday. I want to be like, yes, it's time to go eat magic mushrooms in the forest. Like that is what I'm looking forward to next week.
Whenever we prepare for a film or a TV, I mean, I like when you told me about Dracula, I was like, right, okay, and I binged it in like one sitting, which was good. But yeah, allowing us to actually have that time is really, really appreciated, and obviously the Ayesphere plays stuff. You know, we will be changing the game. We won't just be playing the forest. I'm not sure if we're planning on changing the game for this week or whether we're doing one more forest.
We were trying to finish it and we were really close, I think. It depends on what we log in and find.
Yeah, my gut tells me we're going to lose all of our stuff again. But we'll find out. We can maybe test it.
If it comes to it, we can just play the raft for 2 hours. It's fine.
Oh God. Right, yeah, we'll do that. Sound. But we'll wrap up the stream there, folks. If you're listening to us on any kind of podcasting platform, thanks very much. We are seeing our episodes kind of slowly climb in terms of the number of times kind of listened to and the number of people listening to it, so it is really appreciated. And of course you can also catch us on YouTube where you see the video, and you can see our facial expressions. You
get to watch me freezing, and then you get to watch my dog in the background. That's
like, what more could you possibly want, to be honest?
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll wrap it up there. If you're in the stream, don't go anywhere. We will be probably hanging around for like 10 minutes or so afterwards. But until next time, folks, see you later.
Bye-bye.